Knowing when to level in TFT can be hard to figure out, so today we're going to go through the 6 core leveling strategies and when to use each one. If you want to be able to play any type of comp effectively, then you need to make sure you commit these to memory. So let's get into it. First off, we have what is typically called the standard strategy, as the most of the players follow this strategy before they know what comp they're going to play, and then eventually pivoting into one of the others that we're going to go through. The main theme of this strategy is balancing leveling up to keep your board strong, whilst keeping a decent economy throughout the entire game and ending up with a 4-cost carry board. So in this strategy, you level up to 4 at stage 2-1, playing the strongest board you can and not refreshing your shop to look for units. At stage 2-5, just after the first carousel, you level up to 5, put in a 5th unit you can find that fits your team the best, and again, you don't refresh your shop to look for other units. At stage 3-2, you level up to 6, and in most cases you don't refresh your shop unless you have lots of pairs that you can 2-star, or you've lost streaks up to this point, which means you'll have some extra gold. If you do roll your gold to refresh your shop, don't go overboard as it will kill your economy. I'd only look at refreshing 2 or 3 times max to stabilize your board. Level 7, you want to level once you have enough gold to still have 30 left afterwards. This is usually around 4-1, but depending on the encounters, region portals or augments, this could be as early as 3-5. Don't roll for any units here and instead wait for level 8. Similar to level 7, leveling to 8 will be whenever you can do it and still have 30 gold left, but the more gold the better, as it's still at this point you're going to roll all of your gold for a strong 4-cost board. This is usually between stages 4-2 and 4-5, but make sure to look to see if anyone looks like they might contest you, as you want to level 1 round before them to hit the units first. From there you'll be 0 gold, but you should be stable to start econing back to go to level 9 around stage 5-5 to 6-1 and capping out your board with legendary units. Next we have the fast 8 strategy, which is very similar to the standard strategy, and with the meta in its current state, this is pretty much the new standard. The reason for this is that 4-cost comps are the most popular comps to play right now, which means they're more contested and harder to hit. With this strategy, it's exactly the same as the standard strategy, but instead you don't refresh your shop at all until level 8, which should be at stages 4-1 or 4-2. In order to use this strategy over the standard, you want to either be very healthy with a strong board early on, or get an econ augment at 2-1 or 3-2 to help you get to level 8 quicker. At the time of recording this, the current meta is focused on 4-cost comps, which means the fast 8 strategy has become the new standard, as your chances of being contested is much higher, so everyone is trying to get to level 8 as soon as they can to hit their units. If you're planning on playing a 4-cost board right now, then this is the strategy you should be aiming for. Before we get into this next strategy, if you find these guys helpful, then please consider liking the video and subscribing, as it really helps support the channel. So with that out of the way, next up we have the 1-cost reroll strategy for comps that look to 3-star 2 or 3 1-cost units as their main board. There's usually at least one of these types of comps viable in a set of TFT, and you should look at playing them if you find a few copies of the units you need in stage 2. With this strategy, you don't want to buy XP at all until you've 3-starred your main unit, and instead naturally level up to 4 at stage 2-3. Stage 3-1, just before you're about to naturally level up to 5, you want to start rolling your gold down to 30 whilst looking for your units, as you have a much higher odds of finding 1-costs. If you have 7 copies of the unit you want after rolling to 30, then roll another 10, and if you find another, then roll another 10 again. From there, you want to stay at level 5 and slow roll any gold over 50 to finish 3-starring your units before spending the rest of the game leveling up to slot in more units. Unless you get very unlucky, you should manage to finish your board and have enough gold to level up to each level 1 stage before the rest of the lobby. So you'll hit level 6 around 4-1, 7 around 4-5, and 8 around 5-1 to 5-5. Going up now to the 2-cost reroll strategy, and as you've probably guessed, this is for comps that use 3-star 2-costs as the main units in their board, and look at rolling the majority of the gold at level 6. So the leveling strategy here is very similar to the 1-cost reroll, but instead of rolling at 3-1, you look to level to 6 at 3-2 and slow roll for your 2-cost units. If you lost streaked up to stage 3-2, you will initially most likely want to roll down to 30 instead of slow rolling, just to stabilize your board and pick up a few key units. From there, it's pretty much the same as the 1-cost strategy, in that you stay at your level until you've 3-starred your main units before leveling up. Finally, the last of the rerolled strategies, we have the 3-cost reroll. This has changed recently as Riot reduced the odds of seeing 3-cost units at level 7, which means it's not as clear cut when it comes to level versus when to roll for these boards. The strategy itself is very similar to the standard strategy we went through. Instead, you should look at rolling to 30 at level 7 to 2-star your main 3-cost units. If you manage to have 6 or 7 copies of your main units at this point, you should stay at level 7 to 3-star them before going to level 8. If you didn't manage to, then you should instead look to econ back up to level 8 and slow roll for your units there instead. You also want to make sure you're scouting the lobby to see if anyone else is playing a different 3-cost reroll board, as this will make it a lot easier to hit your units, and it gives more merit to slow rolling at level 7 instead of 8. And finally, we have the most high roll strategy, which is Fast 9. This is where you sacrifice health, augments, units, and even possibly your firstborn son in order to get to level 9 as fast as possible, play a very strong board consisting of mostly legendary 5-cost units. This strategy is really only possible with an Econ Augment, Region Portal, or by playing an Econ trait such as Fortune in set 11. With this strategy, you don't roll at all until level 9, which is why it's very important you have some method of getting extra gold. Without it, you won't survive to make it to level 9. You should be aiming to get to level 9 between 4.5 to 5.1, but make sure you have at least 40 gold left over to roll with at level 9, as the board you're trying to play is probably going to be very expensive. The last thing you want to do is to level to 9 with 0 gold left and have no units to play. Make sure to have your board selected in the team picker for transitioning at level 9, as at this stage in the game every round counts, and losing a round because of a slower transition can be the difference between a top 4 and a bot 4. Now we've finished going through the strategies, we're going to go through augments that can help each type of strategy excel, as well as some that you may want to avoid. So for augments for the standard strategy, there's none that really are specific for this strategy, as it's really just a case of playing your strongest board until you decide on one of the other strategies that you're going to go for, whether it's reroll, fast 8 or fast 9. So you're really just looking to play some of the strongest augments that are flexible. And by flexible I mean they're not specific to a certain type of leveling strategy or a certain trait. So in tier 1 we have Blistering Strikes, which is really strong. It's one of the strongest augments that you get at tier 1, and it means that you don't have to build an anti-heal item, which is very important. If you're unaware, you should always be building at least one way to apply anti-heal, and this allows all of your units to apply it. So it's very strong early, mid and late, and just a very easy pickable tier 1 augment. Silver Spoon is also good for the other leveling strategies like fast 8 and fast 9, but it's very good for standard, as it means you can play a relatively strong board without investing any gold into XP. So it's basically just like 12 gold for free. And Band of Thieves is the best tier 1 augment, stat-wise anyway. It has the highest top 4 out of every tier 1 augment, just because it basically gives you 2 free items very early on, which means you can pretty much win streak the stage 2, as long as you get a decent 2-star 1-cost like Darius, or 2-star like Ribbon early on is very strong as well with Band of Thieves. The tier 2, got Sleight of Hand. Again, similar to Band of Thieves, it's just a general strong augment to take, especially if you don't know which direction that you're going in. Stick this on any 2-star unit and it will do well. And if you manage to get another TG, you also get the 200 health and 20% attack speed for that as well. Inspiring Epitaph is also a very strong augment at the minute. Lots of people playing it. I think it's been nerfed slightly in the latest patch, but still relatively strong stat-wise. And finally, Little Buddies is one of the strongest augments that you can play if you're playing a 4 or 5 cost board, which using the standard leveling strategy is mostly what you're going to go for. As long as you've got 2 1 or 2 cost units on the board, this is worth it. 2 1 or 2 cost units and 2 4 or 5 cost units. You're going to get the value that you want out of this augment. You're getting 3 1 or 2 cost units or 4 1 or 2 cost units, then you're getting even more value. Playing Heavenly with Kayn and Lee Sin with this augment is really strong. Same with any of the mythic related comps with like Lilia, because you play Cog, Nico as well. Very strong. Tier 3, New Recruit. Pretty much suggest taking New Recruit whenever you can. Getting that +1 max team size is really strong at every stage of the game. It allows you to have a level 9 board at level 8, and you get a champion duplicator, which is really good for a 4-cost board. It will allow you to 2-star your 4-cost carry or your 4-cost tank at level 8, much easier, especially if you're being contested. So I'd take this at any time you can. Roll the dice. Again, anytime you can get these gloves, you just get a lot of value out of it. So it has decent stats, so I'd look at taking this. And finally, starter kit. So this has relatively decent stats, but it's very good for pointing you in the right direction for a comp. So if you're unsure on what to play and you get this stage as 2-1, you can pick this and you pretty much know what comp you're going to play straight away. And it also gives you a 2-star version of whatever 4-cost that you get by the time you get to stage 4-1. So you'll be starting stage 4-1 with a 2-star 4-cost and a decent direction in where you want to go. So next up we have the Fast 8 or Fast 9 strategy. So these are the augments that you want to be looking out for if you know that you're playing Fast 8 or Fast 9. And you will know pretty early on if you're playing Fast 8 or Fast 9 because there'll be a certain encounter or region portal which getting a lot of gold, or you're win streaking early game, or you lose streaking with fortune. That's the other one. The tier 1 augments, Silver Spoon again, generally good, don't really need to think about it. Risky moves, you lose 20 health, but after 7 player combats, gain 30 gold. I'd only take this if you start with a very strong board. So if you have a couple of 2-star 1-cost units, or even a 2-star 2-cost units early in 2-1, I'd take this. If not, then I wouldn't bother taking this because losing 30 health and then going on a lose streak, you're going to be very low health, and going Fast 8 or Fast 9, you're going to struggle to do that. 1, 2, and 3, this is a really good augment as you can sell whichever units you don't need that are fitting your opening board to gain some econ, and any that you do will help you go on a win streak. So it's a win-win in terms of econ and a strong board for win streaking. And then tier 2, Slamming. This is like a premium augment. Most players pick this straight away if they see it. All you need to do is slam your item on the units and you get an extra 3 XP per round. So you do pick this, don't forget to put your items onto your units, don't leave them on your bench. I do this all the time as you're losing 3 XP round. Next, Raining Gold. Pretty self-explanatory there. You gain 8 gold and 1 every round. It is very strong. It doesn't seem that strong, but helps you hit your interest breakpoints very quickly. And if you're on a win streak already, this will help you get to level 8 and 9 much quicker. And finally, of the tier 2 augments, we have Epoch. This is really good for both reroll and Fast 8 and Fast 9. So at the start of every stage, you're going to gain 6 XP, which is going to help you to get level 8 and 9 faster. But you also get 2 free rerolls, which means this is basically going to complement you keeping your board strong. In most Fast 8 and Fast 9 strategies, you're not rolling to find your 2-star units at level 6, 7, or even 8 if you go for Fast 9. Now these 2 free rerolls don't seem like a lot, but they may help you to get a couple of 2-star units that you wouldn't have if you were just going Fast 8 without the orb. And finally, tier 3, we have Going Long, which you completely remove your interest in this, but you gain 4 XP at the start of each round. This is really strong because it means you don't need to worry about making interest. You can get 6, 7, 8, and 9 as fast as possible without worrying about dropping interest thresholds. And because of this, you're most likely going to be ahead in levels than other players. You're probably going to be hitting level 7 before other players, even level 8. And it means you're going to start seeing higher cost units before everyone else. And chances are you'll probably be going on a win streak because your board will be a bit stronger, as you're not worrying about saving econ. And Hedge Fund, I'd really only take this one if I'm in a really good spot and I know that I'm not going to need to roll or worry about using any of my gold. The reason is that interest at level 10 is really good, but getting to that means that you're not rolling your board or looking for 2-star units, and you need to be in a really good spot for this. But if you can pull it off, get to level 9 very quickly, and you roll for those 5-cost units, which will hopefully counter the bleeding out, because at some point you are going to start lose streaking with this augment. And finally, we have Level Up, which is the best tier 3 augment that you can get for XP or Econ. It's pretty much the best Econ augment at tier 3. Has a very high top 4 rate, I believe it's 55% at the minute. Does what it says on the tin, you're gaining extra XP time you buy XP, which means you're going to be hitting level 6, 7, 8 and 9 much quicker. Finally, for reroll augments, I don't actually like any of the ones that are directly specific to reroll. And the reason being is, if you're re-rolling a comp, then you really want to be 3-starring your units without the help from augments. And the reason being is you want combat augments to complement your team comp, because you're playing lower costed units, although they are 3-star. You want to complement them with combat augments over using augments to get 3-star units quicker. They can be good in certain situations, but they're usually only used as like a last attempt or a way to get them much quicker, so then you can win streak and then win by Econ and getting to level 9 and slotting in more units to your board. So I see a lot of players complaining when they were playing Gnar reroll that they were saying that it wasn't OP or broken, yet it was one of the strongest comp out there. And the main reason being is they're taking 2 or even 3 reroll augments like Heroic Grab Bag, Team Building. They're hitting 3-star Gnar really early, but it's losing out because it goes against a bunch of players that have took 3 combat augments, so their team comp is much stronger. So I'd only look at taking 1 reroll augment, or ideally I'd take none and naturally 3-star my units. There are some which are still quite good. One of them being Missed Connections. This is really good for 1-cost reroll comps, as you get some gold, still the rest of the 1-cost you don't need, and it just helps you get, usually you're re-rolling on 2 or 3 1-cost units at the same time, so you get a lot of value out of this because you're getting more than just 1 unit from the augment. Like Team Building, where you're just getting 1 duplicator, you're really only getting 1 unit from that augment. Rolling for days is quite good, as it's basically you're re-rolling your shop anyway, so it's basically 20 gold for free. And then Team Building, again, I really wouldn't take this augment unless I'm desperate, or very early on I'm on 7 or 8 copies of the unit and I just need this save Econ. I can take this augment, duplicate the unit that I needed, and then I can start Econing back up, but I really would try to avoid doing that. And then for tier 2 we have Too Much Candy. Your rerolls cost 0 gold, and then every 6 it goes up by 1. So this is very strong if you're rerolling like a 2-cost or 3-cost, or even 1-cost to some extent, as you get a bunch of free rerolls and then cheap rerolls. Really only do this if you're rerolling 2 units or more. It's probably not worth it rerolling 1. Generally good. The stats are okay on this, but again, I try to avoid it if possible, because I'd rather take a combat augment. Epoch is slightly different, as you gain XP and 2 free rerolls. This is good for reroll as well, because most of the time you're not going to be leveling, so having this give you an extra boost in XP plus some rerolls is quite good, as it means that you can spend that Econ refreshing your shop instead of leveling up, get this free 6 XP. Heroic Grab Bag, I like it a little bit better than Team Building, but still I probably wouldn't be taking this unless I'm desperate. And for tier 3 we have Prismatic Ticket. This has just been buffed in the latest patch, so it was 45%, it's now gone up to 50%. This is going to make it a lot easier, especially for 3-cost reroll comps. Probably wouldn't take this for like 1-cost reroll comps, because tier 3 augment looking for 1-cost units, probably not worth it. But for 3-cost, like duelists, when you're trying to 3-star Volibear and Tristana, really good augment. I think I'd be picking this every time if I was playing a 3-cost reroll comp. New Recruit, again, just really strong general augment. You get a duplicator, so you can duplicate, although it's a full-size duplicator, you could use it, duplicate and hit your 3-star unit much quicker. And the max team size is really good, as you're most likely going to be lower level than the rest of the players. If you're playing a reroll comp, it's quite strong. And finally, Call to Chaos, bit of a memey augment, as this isn't specific to reroll, but there are 2 rewards that you can get Call to Chaos, which are really good for reroll. One of them is a bunch of gold. I believe it's 70 gold. Will help you reroll for the units. And then the other one is 40 free rerolls as well. So it's basically 80 gold, but in rerolls. And that is very strong, especially for 3 cost reroll or 2 cost reroll if you're rerolling a lot of units. That's it for this guide. I hope you found it helpful. And if you did, please consider liking and subscribing to support the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.